Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, hope you're having an amazing day. Recently AMD held their Together We Advance event. The primary focus of this event was definitely Zen 4, although the company did give a few preliminary details of RDNA 3. The Ryzen 7000 series, of course, is based on the Zen 4 microprocessor architecture, and 4 processors were revealed. We got the release dates, the pricing, and some early performance information. But while the company did confirm that 3D V Cache is a thing for Zen 4, there was no release dates provided for when we would see them for Ryzen 7000, and well, yeah, that's what we're going to be focusing on in this very video. But first, just a quick message from this video's sponsor. This video is sponsored by NordPass, the secure way to remember your passwords. NordPass is a password manager that can generate your strong passwords and remember them for you. NordPass is a password manager offering much more security than simply storing your passwords in the browser of your choice, as it offers an extra layer of security which encrypts and protects your data. NordPass offers individual and family plans, but also offer a 30-day free trial of NordPass Premium, and you can get yourself an additional free month with our code RedGamingTech, or click the link in the description. Not only can you use NordPass to generate and store passwords securely, but you can also easily import your passwords already stored in your browsers and then use it to access and sync your passwords across different devices. No more trying to remember that new password you set on your PC when trying to log in to your phone. With features like being able to check if any of your passwords have been leaked, identifying vulnerable passwords, biometric security for your NordPass account, you can truly take charge of your security and not have to worry about your passwords leaking or getting cracked. Simply use our link or use the code RedGamingTech in the description to get an extra free month of NordPass Premium. So, first of all, I want to begin with a tweet from Grayman55. You can see yourself that V95, V9, and finally V8 is something that Grayman tweeted on August 31st, 2022. Now, I'm sure most of you can figure out that this is not exactly the most complicated of all tweets to, kind of investigate and figure out what they're referring to here. Basically, V obviously means V Cache, and then we have the 7950, the 7900, and finally the 7800 processors. Now, also they were asked when these processors would appear, and he basically stated CES, which of course is essentially January 5th to January 8th. By the way, guys, there is a crap ton, that's a technical term, of stuff, quote unquote, which is going to be demoed or unveiled at CES. And I'm probably going to make a video on that tomorrow. It was supposed to be today, but stuff kind of happened. I'm basically getting a new test platform sorted out because I'm working on a couple of projects at the moment. And yeah, let's just say I had a couple of issues with Windows not wanting to, well, work. Let's just say that. I had crap tons of BSODs and some software conflicts, and I was just kind of like crying into the void. But anyway, that's resolved. Things are working now. And what I will say is that I personally have been told by one of my sources that CES is probably going to be the announcement of these processors, but it's going to be more of a tease, and the launch window is possibly going to be closer to Q1 late. It's very possible it could be early Q2. This is according to one source. Another source, though, has told me that it's much more likely going to be earlier in Q1. So let's say announced at CES and probably a release date of like late January, very early February. So there's a bit of conflicting information. I don't know if one of them is simply incorrect, or whether it's a simple fact that AMD themselves are not 100% certain on the launch window. What I will say is that I've already got a little bit of early performance data for the V Cache processors. I don't want to share it in this video, simply because I'm trying to get a second source on it, because the performance information is so impressive, and obviously I would try to get a second source if possible. If I can't get a second source, I'll relay what I was told, but I'll just put an asterisk that I've only had a single source telling me what the information is. And now let's hop, skip, and jump our way to Nvidia, shall we? I'm chuckling because the RTX 40 launch schedule at this point is becoming a little bit of a meme. Not that I can actually blame Nvidia, because it's not like they've given us a release date officially and then like holding it back. And at the end of the day, they are also trying to vie for a competitive position against AMD, and there's a very intriguing update. Now, I'm sure most of you know that Nvidia were initially supposed to announce the RTX 40 products at some point in September, basically at their event, but obviously that does run over a couple of days, and then the launch of RTX 40 was going to be some point in October. Probably early October was the rumor, but obviously there was no specific release date associated with it. For example, the 5th of October, it was just kind of early October is what I'd personally heard. Harakazi5719, who has had a pretty good track record with leaks previously, has apparently heard it could be pushed to November. Now, the only reason I can say that this may make some logical... Well, there's a couple of reasons it could make some logical sense. The first is that if it launched in October, well, AMD would have a little bit of additional wiggle room to make some changes to Navi 31, for example, the pricing, possibly push clocks a little bit higher, make some other changes. Now, ultimately, AMD cannot go in, of course, and be like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to add like an extra 50% shaders to our, to our GPU. They cannot do stuff like that. But what they can do is they can use very aggressive tactics when it comes to optimization of games that Nvidia are very partial to for their drivers. They can go in and make changes to their pricing, make decisions based on their lineup, and so on and so on. This is not new information. Companies have been doing this for all the time, and oftentimes it becomes a game of like who blinks first. Furthermore, according to Grayman, Nvidia are also preparing the RTX 4090 Ti. And I'm not going to go into the specs of the Ti because at this point they are a meme. But basically, the rumor is it's not quite the full 102 die, but it's pretty damn close to it. And of course, it basically would represent the fastest consumer card, unless a Titan ever came out, which may be even higher grade, but God knows if that's ever going to occur. Now, there's two things you can take away from this. One is this rumor is completely BS, and it's very possibly is. The second, because there is a lot of misinformation at the moment being deliberately spread by AMD and Nvidia as well as Intel. But what I could also say is that maybe this is not necessarily an indicator of performance. For example, Nvidia could be like, you know what, we are faster, but we're only 3% or 5% faster. Or maybe AMD are 5% faster. Let's just say, though, for the sake of discussion, that Nvidia are a little faster. Nvidia may say, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're also going to release the 4090 Ti, and it's, the fastest product, bar none. They can make whatever marketing claims they would like. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, given Nvidia's track record, if that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be very curious to see the final performance of these things. So do I feel that it's likely that Nvidia will delay the RTX 40 launch until November? Well, so far none of my sources have told me that this is a thing, so I can't personally verify this. There is some logic behind it for the aforementioned reasons of giving AMD less time to respond to Nvidia's own lineup, as well as possibly just the sell-through of RTX 30 cards. With that said, Nvidia may just decide that it's better to get their GPUs on the market as soon as possible. And again, since all of the information from Nvidia themselves was a September announcement, or at least some type of announcement of the architecture itself, possibly not the cards, I am a little skeptical that we're going to see RTX 40 launch in November. But ultimately, of course, it's Nvidia, and they just kind of do their own thing. Lastly, while we're on the RTX 40 train, I just want to give you guys a couple of small updates to possible specifications of the RTX 4070. You can see them on screen yourself. Basically, there are two SKUs, with the Times by Extreme score being around 11,000, or slightly under actually, and just under 10,000. Now, you can notice the total card power here is kind of high, but I personally don't actually think that the cards are going to end up with that level of power consumption. I personally think that these figures are a little higher than what we're going to see with the final GPUs. I've actually had a couple of folks DM me or just message me and say that a lot of the figures in power consumption are really blown out of proportion, and again, they are test cards. At the end of the day, I don't know what the level of power consumption is. It's really, of course, going to be very dependent on what Nvidia want to push the clocks to be, which, of course, again, is going to be dependent on how competitive they want to be and how fast N31 is going to be. It's a very interesting situation we've got right now, because I think that there's a lot of questions we simply don't know. For example, how good RDNA 3's ray tracing capabilities are. Let's assume, for sake of argument, that the two are roughly having parity when it comes to raster performance. How much faster is RDNA 3 in ray tracing versus RDNA 2? I'm suspecting quite significant improvements, but yeah. So that's just about it for the hardware news, but unusually for me anyway now, I'm going to just really briefly discuss some gaming related topics. The reason I'm going into them is because a couple of these topics actually really got a lot of attraction on the channel a while ago, a couple of years ago, and I just want to give you guys an update because there's a couple of interesting things that's going around. Now, the first is Metal Gear Solid. So, Aesthetic Gamer, also known as Dusk Golem, actually confirms that Video Games Chronicle information of Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3 remasters is true. Now, again, that's double sourced because VGC are stating it's a thing, and Dusk Golem, who generally has pretty good information on Konami and Capcom titles, they think it's a thing. But yeah, notice that it says it's a remaster, not a remake. And of course, previous on the channel, I'd been telling you guys that I had heard that Metal Gear Solid 1 was actually receiving a remake from the ground up, specifically focused on PS5 hardware. Basically, it was going to be like a tech demo for the PS5, and I had heard it was also coming to PC, but probably later. Now, one thing I hadn't mentioned in that video, because I was asked to keep it a secret, is that Mark Cerny was actually supposed to be a technical director. And I don't think he was like a creative director, so I don't think he was like, for example, changing the story or any of that stuff, but he was helping to make the game look as good as possible, but I'm pretty sure it is now dead. And I think that these, like kind of remasters are replacing it. I don't know the exact reason, however, I'm pretty sure that we can say that Konami are not the easiest company to work with. I'll also add that I probably am saying at this point that Bloodborne is also dead as well. I'm not 100% certain on Bloodborne. I'm trying to do a bit more due diligence, but I think Bloodborne is dead. And my personal opinion at this point is that we're not ever going to be seeing it for the PS5 ever at 60 FPS patch or any of that, at least officially. If you do have a PS4 Pro though, and you are willing to how do I say this in a way that's not going to get me into trouble. If you're willing to kind of make some changes to the software, you can patch the game basically so that you can kind of run it at 60 FPS, albeit with a number of concessions. So yeah, that's just a quick update. I'm not going to answer it, because I keep still getting DMs about this, so I can just refer people to what I've said here. And that's just about it for this video. Hopefully normal service shall resume for me pretty soon. I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow or the day after there will be a really cool project that will be on the channel. As I said, I had to just delay things a little bit today because I've just getting absolutely pounded by Windows configuration issues, and yeah, it's all good now. There's not anything wrong with the hardware. It's just like Windows. I was basically, long story short, I was trying to transplant a Windows install, and it just didn't like it, essentially. I know it's not necessarily the best thing to do, but I thought I could get away with it. Anyway, hopefully you guys have had a good day, and I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.